Hey everyone, today I'm joined by Jared Gibson. Jared is the co-founder of Outworks, a firm that helps B2B founders and executives turn their ideas into consistent, trust-building LinkedIn content. And with over 18 years in sales and marketing, Jared has a knack for helping leaders show up online in a way that actually sounds like them. So I brought Jared on because so many agency and B2B leaders struggle to stay visible without burning out. He shares how to build a content engine that's sustainable, strategic, and rooted in your own voice. In this episode, we discuss why your LinkedIn profile is your digital handshake and how to fix it, how to turn executive insights into scalable content pillars, what's working and not on LinkedIn in 2025, why founder-led content isn't optional anymore, and more. No one was asking for another community, but I've made one anyway. So what's different? The dynamic agency community is designed around access rather than content. Access to peers who've done it before. Access to experts who've designed solutions. Access to resources that have been battle tested. And right now, the price for founding members is only $97 a year. Join today so your agency has immediate access to everything you need to grow. You can join at dynamicagency.community. And now, Jared Gibson. It's easier than ever to start an agency, but it's only getting harder to stand out and keep it alive. Join me as we explore the strategies agencies are using today to secure a better tomorrow. This is Agency Forward. What mistakes do founders make when outsourcing their content?
Okay. The biggest mistake that we've seen from, and I'm not just saying like any other agency, like we see it with our company as well, is they expect the agency to do all the work. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we're hiring an agency that we're going to completely take this off of our plate and we're going to free up all of our time. Well, a lot of that is true. You'll have a lot of your time freed up, but I always tell our clients, like, we can get you down to like the 10-yard line, like right from all the work that we do in the background, the questions that we're going to ask you, like all this stuff, but we need you to punch it into the end zone. Meaning, like, this is, and it's cliche to say this because I think this rubs some people the wrong way, but it's a partnership. Like, yes, you are hiring us. We are a vendor. However, like, we're not experts in what you do. You are the expert. Right. So you need to help guide us, right? If there's things that are top of mind in your industry, if you're going to a conference next month, or, if there's something that is going on, at your work right now that we should be talking about, then you need to bring that to the table. Don't rely on us for everything. Like, we can help, like I said, get you to a certain point. And I think that I hear that story a lot with a lot of marketing agency founders that I know. It is that, their best partners are the ones that work with them and they don't feel like they're enforcing the relationship. Like, the worst clients that we have, actually, let me rephrase that. The clients that are more of a challenge for us are the ones that don't do any prep work, and they just come to the table and just assume that we're going to have everything locked and loaded for them. And we can, it's just a heavier lift on our end.
Right. Yeah, I can echo when I was running an agency, the clients that I enjoyed working with the most were the ones who I'd show up and they were like, hey, we got all of these things done. And it was all supporting the same campaign we were working on. And we were like, man, it's so much easier to show up and get results for you.
Yeah. That's why our best clients are the ones so we work with CEOs. Mm-hmm. The best clients that we have are the ones that have like a marketing lead or a growth lead, somebody on the marketing or growth team that are working as kind of that mediator between a busy CEO, right? And they're feeding us stuff. They're saying, hey, CEO has a speaking appearance next month in Austin. Let's start creating some content that can kind of seed up to that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's stuff that we never would have found out. Like, right. So having that is great for us.
Yeah. I think the other element of this is like, you can't outsource the actual thinking of like the expertise. You guys are very good at being able to pull someone's expertise and their knowledge, but someone still has to have that knowledge and be able to like articulate it in order to be able to use that, like for you to mold it into the right content.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering how many people are also coming in just saying like, hey, here's a pile of shit, like do something with it?
Yeah. So yes. So handing a pile of shit. We've had clients that have shown up and done no prep, meaning they haven't looked at any of the questions that we sent over to them ahead of time. So what we do is we send them questions based on their content pillars that are top, middle, bottom of funnel focus. We send those over ahead of time. So every once in a while, we'll get a client that just doesn't have time to look at them. And so Kelly, who is one of my co-founders, will kind of go just off the top of his head and like just riff off of what we do have available. And it's a struggle. He's good at eventually getting the good content out, but it's more of a challenge to get them to really, when they're saying, yeah, I don't like that question, ask me the next question. It would have been good to know that a week ago when we sent over those questions. So, but we figure it out, but it's just, it's more of a challenge for sure.
And I think there's also power in knowing what questions to ask, like from their side. We'll say, hey, this isn't a great question. Here's how I'd actually frame it so that someone is getting the best value from this. Yes,
100%. That's why having, like I said, a marketing leader or a growth leader that can do that and pays attention to when that stuff comes over. So again, sometimes it's harder for a CEO to drop what they're doing and put that to the top of the list, where if we have somebody else that can tell us that, it is a massive, massive help for us.
Right. So as part of the goal of content, right, isn't just to attract eyes and get people like more aware of you. You're also trying to build trust with everything you're doing. How are you kind of leaning into that with all the content you're creating so that, there is more of like middle of the funnel type, like, hey, let's build trust so that we can get someone into the conversion stage?
Yeah. So one of the big trust builders, I think that if we look at the way where we are with content today, the pandemic gave us, and I've talked about this before, it gave us like a sneak peek into the lives of these founders and these executives. They've got their kids running around, like their pets are in the background, whatever. And so it like humanized them. And that is a big trust builder. And like, we may not think about that, but all we've known of these CEOs and these executives before is maybe their LinkedIn profile picture or pictures of them on the website, where now we're actually seeing them. We're seeing their personality. We are engaging with their personality. And a lot of founders and executives like kind of leaned into that. Mm-hmm. So for us, we don't always want to talk about your domain expertise or what your company does. Like, it is important to talk about your story. Stories are huge. Stories are big trust builders. So putting how did you get from where you were to where you are today, and all the landmines that you stepped on throughout the process and the shit that you swam through. Let's talk about that stuff. What did you learn from all that? Those are things that resonate with people. And that's what people really want to hear. And then also, like, what are we doing outside of the office? What are passions of ours? Like, do you run Ironman races, or are you a little league coach? Whatever that is, like, let's bring some of that stuff in. Let's talk about that, because that right there is humanizing you as a CEO. And it's only going to build trust and showcase your personality in a good way, where I bet your competitors are not doing this. And this is going to separate you.
I interviewed Dan Englander a few episodes back. He does outreach for agencies.
I'm going on his podcast next week.
Oh, perfect. So one of the key components of what he's doing is like, we got to find the commonalities between you and whoever you're talking to, because that's what's going to drive them to actually open it up. Yep. And just in talking to him about that, I've been thinking about it a lot more in all the content I'm creating, and just not commonalities in like a one-on-one basis, but like, how can I be framing things in a much larger, so like the video that went out today, it's talking about AI and why it's important to be very clear in your positioning, because that's what AI is going to reference when it wants to serve you up as a referral. Yep. But in the middle of it, like, my chickens started pecking at my feet and stuff. So I like turned the camera. I'm like, look, I get chickens, like, follow me around. And I don't know, like, it felt good, but I've had multiple people reach out and just be like, I didn't know you had chickens. And it was like, oh, completely like different. Didn't pull away from the content of the video. But it did feel like something, a lot of people can't do that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, okay, that was one sidetrack. Now I want to get to the actual question around this. How do you pull the stories from people? Because there's so many different directions you can take, right? Everyone's got these chaotic lives doing different things. How do you find the good stories that can actually resonate with people? Is it just like we can take any story and we just got to frame it right and package it right? Or
Yep.
is it like, hey, we actually want to find these key points because these are the ones that are going to resonate more?
Yeah. So we create enough content for our clients where the good stories will eventually come out, right? They'll come out in the line of questioning. My co-founder, Kelly, who runs the interviews, does a really good job at getting people, especially early on when they don't know who we are that well. Like, yeah, they trust us to the point where they brought us in to help them with this, but they're not like ready to be vulnerable with a lot of these stories. So Kelly does a good job of getting people to lower their guard and just treating it like a casual conversation. And then when he's asking questions around stories, something may trigger with him where he'll ask a follow-up question to something they said. And that is the story that we ultimately were looking for. So he's got a good way to just ask the follow-up questions in his interview style and process.
Right.
But they're in there. I mean, we'll get them out. And, a lot of times it's people like have told him, and I've heard this in the interviews, like, didn't think that we'd be talking about that today. Right. And that when we hear that, that's like, okay, well, we know that this is a good story then. And this is going to create really good content that, again, humanizes you.
Right. I like the approach too, because I find myself often being a talker outer. When it's like, I'll have these ideas. I just needed someone standing there to be a sounding board as I start just spewing everything.
Oh yeah.
Then,
I'm the same way.
Yeah. You find those things that stick and you're like, oh, that's it. But when you have someone asking the right questions and getting you to go deeper in that, it's just like enabling that talker outer quality. There has to be a name for that besides
talker outer quality. No, it's good. I just went through the talker outer quality right before this call. I was on my content call with Kelly.
Yep.
And it's like, he gets you to riff and talk about things. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, that was really good. I didn't think about that before you asked me that question. So
and it gives you a complete different, like, how can I use this in multiple ways now? Right. It's not just this story is going to be used in this one specific thing, but the moral of that story can now influence 10 different pieces of content. And you can reference back to it over time.
Yeah. And my talk track. And when I talk to prospects and when I'm out, it's speaking engagements, like when I'm out on stage talking about it, like that's something that would be gold to bring to this type of audience. So yeah, for sure.
Right. So CEOs should be creating content. I think everybody listening can probably agree to that. What are those, like, why are some still not doing it?
Yeah. I mean, so I've heard every excuse, I'm calling them excuses in the book. I don't have time to do it. It's not my job to do it. I hate social media. I don't know what to say. I don't know whatever it is. I've heard them all. At the end of the day, it comes down to just not being in their comfort zone. It's outside of their comfort zone to create content, personal content on LinkedIn or any social media platform. They're just not comfortable with it. A lot of them aren't. We have countless high-level executives that have exited multiple businesses that are very, very successful. And they start with us and they wither up into a ball when we start talking about like this type of stuff, right? So it takes some time. It's a crawl, walk, run approach with a lot of them, but they get it and they know they should be doing it. So I think that's it. I just think it's outside comfort zone. But with today's buyers being a younger generation, kind of on social media, like this is part of the buying process now. So they do know that they wield influence when they're posting this content online, and they should all be doing it, but eventually they'll get there.
Yeah, is it just like a crippling form of imposter syndrome? Like they've done the work, right? Like they have results to show for what they're talking about. So why not just talk about it?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is it's the same stuff. Like I think about when I first started posting, I'm like, I'm going to start this company. I got to be active on LinkedIn. And all the shit that was going through, these false narratives that I was creating in my head are the same stuff that they're feeling. Like it doesn't matter if they're running a $500 million company. Like it doesn't matter. It's the same stuff. It is a little bit of imposter syndrome. It is, are people going to judge me? It is, are my buddies going to bust my balls on a text chain? It is like, are people going to disagree with me? It's all that stuff. And some of that stuff is absolutely going to happen. People are going to disagree with you. Your buddies are going to make fun of you. People are going to judge you. Who gives a shit is what my answer to all of that is, right? But it's all of that. And imposter syndrome definitely has a big, big hand in that as well.
Yeah. But you bring up a good point too. The market is shifting where, and I'm seeing this with all of my clients as well. What used to be like the discovery phase, like top of funnel for the market, is almost moving platforms in some instances. And I think it's because the buyers are changing. And so as that's happening, they're going to different places for information, whether it is AI or just, hey, they're not looking on LinkedIn anymore. They're all going to Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
How do you kind of plan out where you should be delivering that content in order to have the most impact?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in cross-channel, like spread it out, because you never know where your next buyer is going to come from. Right now, today, LinkedIn is the B2B platform. There's like 1 billion users. I think I saw that I think it's like 1% of people actively post once a month, but in the US alone, there's like 38 million people that log on to LinkedIn every week. So like there's people still on LinkedIn. As much as we want to shit on LinkedIn for whatever reason, like the content that's there is self-serving or it's a cringe factor, whatever you want to call it. Like it is still where decision makers are going. They may not be engaging, but they're still going there. Other platforms like I'm super interested in continuing to follow Substack, especially right now. I think that there's a massive opportunity on Substack, especially with their notes app, where it's basically Twitter. Yeah. It looks a lot like that. So I think Substack, there's something there. You know, there all the Instagram, X, all that stuff. Like their YouTube is huge right now. So I'd say if there's an opportunity to spread that content across the board for us, because of who we are, like in the B2B space right now, it's like LinkedIn is still the number one player. But we've definitely got an eye on other platforms.
Right.
Did that answer your question?
It did.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the different platforms because like I'm using, so like my discovery phase for clients or prospects rather is almost entirely through being on other people's podcasts and being on stages, everything else. They hear about me and then they go to LinkedIn and that's where we start the trust building. LinkedIn for content, Substack, they join my newsletter, they listen to my podcast and we do that until eventually the conversion element. But
it is part of, if we think about it, so like if our partner program's huge, we get tons of clients through our partner program, my network, we're getting clients, but it is what the part of that buying process. It's like, check out your website. I'm going to go to your LinkedIn profile and I'm going to look at your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to look at the content you created. So I had a post today that talked about like impressions being down for video content right now on LinkedIn. Even though LinkedIn's prioritizing video content in the video feed, impressions are still down. We're not seeing the reach that we saw when they first introduced the new video feed a few months back, when they like basically poured gasoline on everybody's reach. And then overnight, they just pulled it away. Like, screw your dopamine hit. Like, you're not getting it anymore. Yeah. So we're seeing impressions down on reach there. However, my post today was about like understanding that people are still going to go to your profile. They're still going to click on your content and they still want to see the videos. It's the same mindset that you have with your website. You're not going to put a video up on your content page on your website and get pissed off that you're not getting a bunch of views in the first day, right? So why aren't we starting to treat LinkedIn, YouTube, all that stuff like the content that you're putting on their website, because it is part of the buyer journey today. So they're going to go see it eventually as part of their decision-making process. So just keep putting it out there and don't pay attention to, low reach for video right now. It's still massively important that you're putting that stuff out there.
I'll cite that as the reason my post today is only doing okay.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been on, but I'll check it out. I want to see, now I'm intrigued to see the chicken.
Yeah, you just want to see a couple chickens.
Yeah.
But yeah, agree. I mean, I have people going to my LinkedIn and liking posts from months ago. And it's like, oh, I forgot I even made that. But like they're finding it somehow. I don't think LinkedIn is serving up 2-month-old posts. No. I think they're going through the content and consuming what they want. And that should be telling, I think, from a marketing standpoint. Once something is like kind of past that initial phase of like being shared by LinkedIn, usually a couple weeks, right? Usually you won't see anything kind of older than that still circulating. But when someone finds a post from 2 months ago and they like it, there was something in that post that resonated. And so is it time to republish, to take that same story, to do something with it, to put it back out there because someone actually went through your content and said, this is worth engaging with, because most people don't engage, period. And so even clicking that like button it's a huge lift. Anyways, I want to talk authenticity, because it's something crazy. The more you can say, I want to be authentic, but in trying to be authentic, you stop being authentic. And so how are you kind of balancing authenticity with like the necessary strategy and everything to perform in a B2B function?
Yeah. This may be blunt, but this is like where, this question, I've thought about this in the past, because being authentic, like you have to be authentic. People can smell through, and when you're being fake, like people just get like, they're like, yeah, I don't buy any of the shit that you're saying. I believe to truly be authentic, you need to not give a shit. If that makes sense. It means I don't fucking care. I do not give a shit. This is me. Like I'm putting myself out there. We have a podcast where it's called Business is Bullshit. And we literally like, it's not doing anything for our business, but we are our true selves on that podcast. And I think that if you go back and look at any of my content, it's who I am. Like I cuss, get over it. Like that's me. I'm not going to hold back on it. I have opinions on certain things like that's. So I think that if you went to it with like, I need to make sure that I'm being authentic. Okay. Well, do you give a shit about what somebody else may say or think about this point of view that you have on this particular issue or the issue? Now we're talking politics, not politics, but like certain thing that's going on. That's authentic. Be your authentic self. Like don't hold back. Like if you don't feel like, if you're putting out a piece of content that you don't feel is you, then that's not authentic. Like stop giving a shit if you're like, or I don't want to rub this person the wrong way. Like that's not authentic. Put it out. Yeah. I know it's a little straightforward, but
I can get behind that entirely. But my follow-up question, I guess. So one of the ways that I guess I'm being my authentic self is by like, I do all of my content in one take. I don't edit my content. Like I might throw captions on there.
Hopefully you're editing some of this. Yes, today.
We'll take out around the 4-minute mark, I think is what I wrote down. But but I'm just doing one take, and it's like if I screw up during it, it's like whatever. Like who cares if I fumble some words, as long as you get the point of what I'm putting out there. But at what point does the quality of your content start to suffer in like versus the authenticity you're trying to put out? Like, is there a point where you're like, you know what, you should edit because like this is actually trash?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've done it. I've been there, like where I've maybe said stuff in video or written it out and looked at it and said, this may be too much. This may be
the world is not ready.
Yeah. One of those things. Or it's like I do believe that there is a line of things that you should be posting on LinkedIn and things you shouldn't be posting on LinkedIn, right? If your authentic self has a belief from a political standpoint of something, you should not be posting that on LinkedIn. I don't give a shit which side you're on. Like you shouldn't be talking politics on LinkedIn, right? That's authentic, but draw the line somewhere. But I do think that there's that, like, there's still people that say like, this is LinkedIn, this isn't Facebook. Like keep that stuff over on Facebook. I think that that's changed. I think the line has come a lot further toward like, yeah, you can get personal on LinkedIn. You can put out personal things on LinkedIn. Is there a line? I do believe that there is a line. I do believe that there's certain things that should not be put out on social media, any social media platform. Is it authentic? If you put it, sure, it's authentic, but it's too much. So it's just you trying to figure out where that line is that I'm talking about. That's on you to try to figure that out. I'm sure that if you put enough stuff that's on the other side of the line out there, you'll probably get enough people to call your shit out on LinkedIn. There are definitely trolls on LinkedIn, just like there are on every social media platform. They'll let you know.
Yeah. So I've also heard the argument that when politics affects business, you should take a stance and talk about it because like it's going to impact things. And so not talking about it. Yeah. I take the side of just not talking politics. I don't, I'm too middle of the road on things too. Like every individual issue is, I'm going to pick a stance based off what I believe is
yeah.
right.
My stances are
issue.
boring. My stances are boring. I'm with you. They're right in the middle. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if it affects your business, yeah. I mean, but I think that there's a way that you can do it without like getting too political, if that makes sense. Like just being angry. Yes. Right. So listen, tariffs are affecting what's going on right now with a lot of businesses where a lot of people are potentially going to lose their jobs. A lot of companies are potentially going to shut down if this comes to fruition the way that some people think that it's going to. You should be talking about this. This is genuine. It's authentic. Like, hey, my hope is that this happens. It's that they come to an agreement, whatever that is. Like, I want to keep the doors open. We're doing a lot of good work, but a lot of our shit's coming from China. We can't afford to stay open right now if this is what's going to happen, right? That's authentic. Not being angry and calling certain people out in the political sense. Like, that is just, that's where I think I draw the line from the political standpoint.
Yeah, that's a good. I agree with the. I mean, I have a client in the D2C space, or agency or D2C brands, and so tariffs are impacting them. But it's like, well, we can get angry about it, or we can figure out how do we stay afloat right now with this, and talk about what we can control. And like that feels like a more optimistic and appealing story for people to follow than just railing on.
I mean,
you can't actually influence.
Think about like. Think back to 2020, like during COVID and all that. Like I can't, the amount of shit that I saw on LinkedIn of people bitching about masks and all this stuff. And it's like, listen, you can have an opinion on that, whatever it is. But like, what do you know that like you're angering half of the people in this, like on this feed right now? Like that's the type of stuff. Just keep that to yourself. Right. And I'm just using that one as an example, but there's many more that you could probably pull.
Yeah. So let's shift away from dangerous grounds.
Yes. Thank you.
And, how do you measure the success of founder-like content?
So that's like the $1 million question. And I actually talked about this recently where I think there's a lot of leading indicators that you should be looking for. The lagging indicator, depending on like what your goal is, like some of our clients' goals are like, hey, I just need to stay top of mind. I just want to create content. I'm the CEO of this business. It's only going to do good if I do this. I'm not trying to generate meetings for myself as the CEO of this company. Great. Other people like, yeah, my goal is to generate conversations. I need to figure out how to have conversations from this content that we're creating. Right. So there's ways that we can do that. We can, do ads. We can create lead magnets and, get people and we can track traffic back from LinkedIn to the landing page for that lead magnet, whatever that is. There's different ways that we can do that, but it comes down to generating conversations. Like, how do we have conversations? So I think one thing that people often don't think about is like what content's doing from a sales pipeline acceleration standpoint. Like it's accelerating the pipeline. It is part of the buyer journey that we've talked about. We beat that thing to death, but people are going and doing their research and they want to see that you know what you're talking about, right? So unless you're asking people when you jump on a phone call with them, hey, did you have a chance to check out my content? They're not going to tell you that, right? They're not going to say that like, yeah, I've been following your content for a little bit. We didn't have this pain, but now we have it, unless you're asking. So it's tough to track some of this. I think there's a lot of leading indicators like, vanity metrics. We can talk about impressions. We can talk about engagement. We can talk about all that stuff. Is it engagement with the right people? Are we starting to see second degree people that you're not connected to engaging with your content? I think that's important. Are you hearing people talk about your content outside of like the internet? Like when you're out and about. We had a client, I'll read this to you because I just brought it up on our last call. Yeah. I'm not going to read it to you in detail, but we had a client that sent this text message to Kelly, who's one of my co-founders, at an event tonight. I had 3 people come up to me and talk to me about how fan-fucking-tastic my LinkedIn social media account is, and they loved my approach. They were they loved how I was direct and spoke to the camera, and they loved all this stuff. And one of our vendors wants me to help create training content for their online that saw me on LinkedIn. I've been invited to podcasts. So it's stuff like that you start to like hear as well, where you know that you're headed in the right direction with it. There's other motions that need to be put into place if we're talking about like, how do we actually generate conversations? Content a lot of times not going to do that alone. You need to be engaging with other people's content. You need to be figuring out a DM strategy that's genuine and that can be the signal and the noise. It's not spammy. Like, you're vying for attention. So we need to make sure that, like, if we're doing that the right way. Video, personalized video, just boom, shoot it. One take, send it over to somebody. Don't try to pitch them on what your services are. Find something about a post that they had. Hey, Chris, really like that post you had about so-and-so. Actually, funny story that happened to me a few weeks ago. Not sure why I'm telling you, but I'm telling you. Love to connect sometime and wrap through it in more detail if you're around. Boom.
Yeah.
Done. Send it. Like, that is like just genuine, like authentic, a way to DM somebody. Right. It's just people look for the easy button and just set a bunch of BS automation.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Long answer.
Right. Yeah. But you just got me thinking about something else. So obviously when you're creating great content, it will speed up your entire pipeline because there's more trust built, right? They can move faster. They know what you do. Hopefully you can get through all that. But it's probably impossible to actually measure this. But from the time on first discovering you to time booking a call, like, good content speeds that up as well. And so like the rate at which someone goes from, oh, I now know you're a solution, to, hey, let's chat. You can speed that up too. Now you're filling your pipeline at a faster frequency as well.
Yeah.
This was like years ago. I think it was Sharon Srivatsa. He's a super interesting follow for, like, business-minded guy. But he talked about your time on brand, where there's a certain amount of time on average that people are going to spend with your business, like learning about it before booking that call. And so it could be like, once you figure it out across all your assets, let's just, for simplicity, say it's 5 hours. That could be, like a handful of 30-minute podcasts, your 2-minute LinkedIn's, a bunch of shorts. And if you can kind of piece together, like, how long do people actually need? Because they could just be consuming 10 really long blog posts, and that's all they needed in order to get to us. But when you start thinking about it like that, it's like, how do I now maximize the time that someone is with my brand so that I can shrink that time required in order to make this happen? And I think you guys are on it with the type of content you're creating. So
yeah, but it's good. I mean, it's the same thing like we used to do. I mean, not used to do. It's still like, how many touches does it take for somebody to recognize your brand?
Yeah.
And then, so I think that there's steps leading to it as well. Like, recognize your brand. It's because you could send out how many messages. I think back in the day, it was like, and I don't know the updated stats on this, but part of the sequence is like, it takes 24 touches before somebody responds back to you or whatever that is. Like, I don't know if that's the same anymore, but like the whole predictable revenue model was based on all of those touches that need to happen before somebody says, yes, let's have a conversation. I mean, it's annoying as shit as the buyer, but it's part of it just is what it is.
Feels annoying as the seller as well. At least from my,
it does. It does.
I can't play that type of game anymore, but
it's tough.
All right, Jared, I got 2 more questions for you.
Let's do it.
First one being, what book do you recommend every agency owner should read?
Ooh, I'm going to cheat and say 2 books, because I think the agency piece of it for me was the book that I read. I'm going to go, okay. So the book I read that really helped from a marketing agency perspective, because my background's in sales. I've been in sales my entire career, and I switched over and led a marketing team. And I used a lot of my sales background to think of it with a different hat on. Like, I didn't go approach it with just marketing. And the book that I read that really kind of shaped a lot of my thought process from a marketing standpoint is They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan.
Yep.
Great book. I've read it a few times. That's a lie. I've listened to it a few times now. So great book. But the other book that I will always go back to, being an owner of a business, and it's just the roller coaster rides that you go to, the obstacles that you see as Obstacle is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way is like, it puts things into perspective. Yeah. I mean, it's such a good book. And I've read Ego is the Enemy. It's good too. But like, Obstacle is the Way is just that one that just got me like, stop fucking bitching. Like, stop, just figure it the fuck out. Like, get around it. Like, yes, times are tough, or you had a shitty week. Like, figure it out. Like, there's something, there's an angle that you can go that is the right way to go. You just need to figure it out. So I think that having that mindset and in that book really, really helped me for sure.
Awesome. Last question. Where can people find you?
The internet. Anywhere on the internet, just Google me. No, my LinkedIn is a good way. There's a link to my calendar right below my headline on LinkedIn, so anybody can throw some time on my calendar to talk through some of this stuff. I would say that's the best website too. Outworks.io is our website. But yeah, not hard to find. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but not hard to find.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Good.
In today's market, it's a good thing. But well, awesome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, Chris, awesome. Thanks for having me.
That's the show, everyone. You can leave a rating and review, or you can do something that benefits you. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to Agency Forward on Substack. You'll get weekly content, resources, and links from around the internet to help you drive your agency forward.